The point of this was to end the human species, to create a new, as Elon Musk calls them, humanoids, like to merge technology into the human body. And before people say that's crazy, what do you think biotechnology is?
DARPA calls it transhumanism, military transhumanism. But in an interesting way, this is actually part and parcel of the whole movement towards robotics. It's not only making individual warfighters comfortable with robots. It's this idea of coupling man and machine and merging humans and machine. And DARPA is doing that with programs now with what they call biohybrids, which people might call cyborgs. You know, they're able to actually control a rat through a labyrinth remotely because they've implanted electrodes in its brain.
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication.
It's taking biology and making it technology, take technology and making it biology. And transhumanism is the merger of the human body with technology. It's obvious to me. I don't know what people, like, the words mean what they mean.
In the coming decades, AI and biotechnology will give us godlike abilities to re-engineer life and even to create completely new life forms. Then the big political and economic question of the 21st century will be, what do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games.
You can provide them with bread and circuses, and you can provide them with endless amounts of distractions and propaganda.
But this doesn't sound like a very appealing future.
It's the end of the world, at least that's what I heard them say. Who could ever think the world would end today?
So what is the future of mankind? What is going to happen to our brain when the computer and robot take over, and when the great industries invent all these machineries of ultra intelligent machines? And what's your future as a human being? You understand my question? This is happening. It is not something in the future. It may take 10 years. And they say we'll do it in 10 years. Right? And they're going to do it in 10 years for commercial reasons. So they are acting from the outside on the human brain. Do you understand? Through biochemistry, through electric currents and so on, from the outside.
Imagine moving a mechanical arm by just thinking about it, or playing a video game using only your mind. Yes! Although it may seem like science fiction, scientists and engineers have been developing this technology for decades. It's called Brain-Computer Interface, or BCI.
The field of brain-computer interfaces relies on the ability of the brain to be able to generate certain types of responses that can then be harnessed by computers, to be able to be interpreted by computers.
And they may change our conditioning from the outside, and probably they will. They'll invent better gurus than any other guru in the world. Don't laugh, please. This is very, very serious. It sounds funny, humorous, but it is a fact. The computer will invent the best God on earth, will bring about a society that will function mechanically. You understand? Face all this. And what is the future of man? If we, as human beings, don't change from the inner, from the inside. You understand? They are going to change you from the outside. This is inevitable. It's in the cards. We laymen know nothing about all this, what they are doing.
When we get to the 2030s, nanobots will connect our brains to the cloud, just the way your phone does. It'll expand intelligence 1 million-fold by 2045. That is the singularity. We will be funnier, sexier, smarter, more creative, free from biological limitations. We'll be able to choose our appearance. We'll be able to do things we can't do today, like visualize objects in 11 dimensions. We can speak all languages. We'll be able to expand consciousness in ways we can barely imagine.
Perhaps we don't want to know. What's going to happen to the human brain when we have vast leisure? Because the computer, the robot will do all the dirty work. We'll build cars, we'll sweep the roads, perhaps establish a better relationship between you and your wife. This is serious what we are saying. It may give you all the sexual experience through computers. Yes, sir. It's all of that also. So, what is the future of man?
We're going to become increasingly non-biological to the point where the non-biological part predominates and the biological part is not that important anymore. In fact, the non-biological part, the machine part, will be so powerful it can completely model and understand the biological part. So even if that biological part went away, it wouldn't make any difference because the non-biological part already understood it completely. Another step then is in the 2030s, when we can actually connect our neocortex, which is where we do our thinking, to computers. So I believe that will happen in the 2030s. We will actually, so just the way this is greatly amplified by being connected to the cloud, we can connect our own brain to the cloud.
It's about connecting the human brain to artificial intelligence, and then from a central point, which you can do, to dictate the perceptions of the population. And so once that happens, a perception that says, this is not right, I'm not doing this, will not manifest, because it's not what will come through AI. This is where we're going. And so then you look at how this could be achieved. How could this connection to the human brain be achieved? Why wouldn't we think that large numbers of the 8 billion would say, I'm not doing that, no way. So what you have is Elon Musk. He is running this Neuralink, which is based on, he's doing animal trials now. They've just, I think, got permission for human trials.
An independent review board has given the green light for the company to seek people with paralysis to test its experimental device in a 6-year study. The study will use a robot to surgically place a brain-computer interface, or BCI, implant in a region of the brain that controls the intention to move. Neuralink says the initial goal is to enable people to control a computer cursor or keyboard using their thoughts alone.
He's talking about putting sensors in the brain and having to cut out a bit of the skull to do it. Now, when you look at it from that level, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen on the scale they're talking about. And it's a diversion from the real way that they plan to do it. And interestingly, in my new book, The Dream, I quote Elon Musk in an interview in which someone actually said that, well, you know, cutting away a piece of the skull, you know, it seems a bit extreme. But he said, oh, no, well, you don't really have to do that. He said you can put the connection in via the veins.
I mean, there are a few ways to approach this, but some sort of interface directly with your cortical neurons particularly.
But doesn't that imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries because that provides a complete roadway to all of your neurons.
What he means is by a vacuum.
Now, the key, or one of the kind of keys to, or the key really in many ways, but it's not the only one, to this receiver system in the body, in the vials, is something called, now, is a superconductor of electricity. Now, this is, and it's in the, and it's very, very significant, not least because the brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the rest of the body communicates with the brain electrically. And if you can mess with that electrical system and in effect rewire it through, then you can not only affect the nature of the so-called physical body, you can change the personality and the perceptions of the people involved. And I know how many people have pointed out over these last few years how many people they know who've had multiple fake who are just not the same person anymore. They talk about them being vacant and stuff like that.
You see that in everyday life. The amount of people that you look and there's no one at home anymore.
No one at home anymore. And we can go into deeper levels of that on another occasion because it's basically disconnecting the body-mind from expanded consciousness. That's what it's actually doing.
Graphene, which is in the is a neural implant. It's an artificial neural network that has the ability to amplify brain signals and heart signals and to send them directly to the cloud, according to Ricardo Delgado Martin of La Quinta Columna. This would put into context what people like Yuval Noah Harari have been saying for a while, like how human beings are now hackable animals. Dr. Peter Bragin, who's a psychiatrist, has also talked about how the are basically lobotomizing people and changing their personalities. The reason I started looking into the effect on the mind is because I had started noticing changes in people around me, so I decided to look into it. I didn't Google it, of course, because that platform is censored, but I looked it up on a Russian search engine called Yandex, which is actually great for researching this because it's less censored. Anyway, I actually found some interesting information, a lot of it coming from other people who were also noticing the same thing. And then I also found research information from doctors who were talking about this. David Icke has also talked and written about this. In The Dream, he wrote, the effects of the fake are clearly targeting the psyche too, as it shorts and rewires the information processing of the brain and body. Based on my research over the last 3 years, it seems that people's neurology is basically being taken over. And according to Todd Callender, who's a lawyer, it starts with the 1p36 gene deletion syndrome. This gene regulates the frontal cortex, which is responsible for higher order thinking. And it also turns out that this gene deletion is on the list of adverse events.
So in the post-marketing study, as it relates to the 6 months after EUA was issued, they had to disclose all of the serious adverse events, and they came up with an additional 1,291 serious adverse events of special interest, meaning these were beyond the ones that they ever envisioned could happen. And there was a page full of those already, 16 or so of them, including myocarditis, pericarditis. We're talking about ones that they never envisioned. The number one of which is the 1p36 gene deletion syndrome. That is a congenital defect, meaning people are born with that. So to find that to be the very first serious adverse event of special interest was really quite alerting to me, because it means that that was a consequence of the shots. That means necessarily that the shots caused the deletion of this important gene. That gene is what makes our frontal cortex work. The part of the brain that we use to think and reason has been deleted in people that got that protein sequence or that CRISPR engineering to delete that gene. And I'm sadly telling you that it's very broad-based, meaning there is a lot of this happening. We don't know exactly who got what gene deletion or who got what proteins, because these manufacturers never had to tell the FDA what's in other than the base ingredients, polyethylene glycol and some other sundry chemicals. They never disclosed what the proteins were, what the actual engineering proteins were. So we don't know, but what we can see is the effect of it. Some of our expert witnesses in our case, Robert V. Austin, you're right, it's in the 10th Circuit now. These are flight surgeons, and they're telling us that pilots going through their training programs cannot progress, and in some cases are falling out because they have lost their cognitive ability to operate an aircraft. And if that's not alerting, I don't know what is.
Former President of Chile, Sebastián Piñera, made a public statement on national television that 5G is not only able to read our thoughts, but that it can even insert thoughts and emotions into everyone. Talking about a dystopian nightmare.
La posibilidad que las máquinas puedan leer nuestro pensamiento e incluso puedan insertar pensamientos, insertar sentimientos. La tecnología 5G es un cambio aún mayor en nuestras vidas de lo que han significado todas las tecnologías anteriores en esta materia.
He was presenting 5G. The president of Chile was selling this as if it were a commercial for lamps. But look at what he says. Together with the ministers of transport, telecommunications and science, here is the launch of bidding process for the 5G network. Let's listen to it. We are moving forward together with the community of the leaders of the world. There is the possibility that machines can read our thoughts and can even insert thoughts, insert feelings. Some say that the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Well, that is what we aspire to do. 5G is a tremendous leap forward. It's a cosmic leap. It's a Copernican leap. Because what the 5G technology will really mean for us is an even bigger change in our lives than what all previous technologies in this area have meant. The possibility that machines can read our thoughts and can even insert thoughts, insert feelings. Do you know what he is saying? He is talking at the same time about 5G in the field of neuroscience. First, it's not a Copernican leap, it's a Copernican twist, but we won't ask him for more. He's talking about inserting thoughts, that is, that a person receives instructions through artificial intelligence. That's neuromodulation. We are talking about altering behavioral patterns, which is neurostimulation, inserting feelings. And this, how has it been done? Well, Rafael Yuste has done this by using graphene oxide that enhances brain signals, by mapping the brain to see which areas are stimulated when the person is aggressive, when the person is depressed, when they are sad. It's very easy. It's not as difficult as it seems. So if they know what areas to stimulate, they can stimulate them remotely, wirelessly. Doesn't the Chilean president selling 5G seem strange to you? But wasn't it meant to make the internet faster? What has this to do with inserting thoughts? When talking about machines, he refers to artificial intelligence, which is the other factor. Right now, human beings have three dangers. Artificial intelligence, because they are somehow using artificial intelligence for the worse. the web network that they have implemented throughout the world with telephone masts that we are already seeing are deadly, and the interface that they are introducing, which is graphene oxide in the injectables. Now you understand why Sebastián Piñera was speaking. He doesn't understand it, but why was he talking about inserting emotions, inserting thought, neural monitoring? They managed to control, we have said, what? The head. It goes directly there, but also towards the heart because it's electrical and is a superconductor, so it will also go there. When it's in the heart, what can it do? Well, with using light can perfectly be microwaves within the electromagnetic spectrum, remotely, i.e. wireless, or through cell towers and masts. We can control microcytes and the heartbeat of the cells. Controlling the heartbeat means they can make it beat twice as fast, even faster, and kill a guy. And in fact, that's how they say it here. It will move cells at will, they say. It was surprising how flexible graphene allows cells to literally move at will. Do you want it to beat twice as fast? No problem, just increase the intensity of light, or the radio frequency. 3 times faster, no problem. Killing him is no problem. It is invisible, also intangible. Nobody is going to notice. In fact, we're seeing it. True? And how? Using
Ray Kurzweil, who's a futurist, has been saying for years now that by 2030, human brains will be connected to AI. And he's not alone in this, but he's a good example. He said AI would connect humans to the cloud. The AI is what's in the basically. That's how the nanotech self-assembles and does other stuff. He also said that once the connection is made, AI, through the cloud, will do more and more of human thinking, until human thinking as we know it is basically non-existent. David Icke says, we've seen the physical consequences of many people in death and injuries and health destruction from the but what he's seen and noticed and heard from so many people are the psychological changes that have taken place. The word vacant is often used to describe people who took the he said. He also says that people who've had the are starting to be connected to the cloud, and that this will affect their psychology, and it will also affect their acquiescence to authority, because the more the hive mind is developed through the cloud, the more people will not question authority, because what their brains are connected to is not programmed to question authority. The physical effects are just the tip of the iceberg. While many people are dying and being injured from the not all people who took them are meant to die. The survivors of the graphene and other nanotech will be plugged into a hive mind. It appears that the process of AI assimilation is already happening.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take a genetic editing, just as an example.
On va les implanter dans nos vêtements, c'est-à-dire wearables, comme on le dit. Et après, on pourrait s'imaginer qu'on les implante dans nos cerveaux ou dans notre peau. Et à la fin, peut-être il y a une communication directe entre notre cerveau et le monde digital. Ce que nous voyons, c'est une sorte de fusion du monde physique, digital et biologique.
So we had these two big revolutions, the computer science revolution, or the infotech revolution, and the revolution in the biological sciences. And they are still separate, but they are about to merge. They are merging around, I would say, the biometric sensor.
This is where authority in the 21st century will reside, and all the important decisions will not be made by the Pope or by God. They will not be made by democratic elections and by individual consumers. They will be made by the algorithms in the cloud. Biotechnology will, for the first time in history, translate economic inequality into biological inequality. Therefore may even push humans out of the job market and will create an immense new class, the useless class.
Unfortunately, what's really going on in relation to the sounds like science fiction, and so many people, including those who didn't take the would just dismiss this information because it sounds crazy. And yet it is still happening, and there's a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that it's happening.
The point of this was to end the human species, to create a new, as Elon Musk calls them, humanoids, like to merge technology into the human body. And before people say that's crazy, what do you think biotechnology is?
DARPA calls it transhumanism, military transhumanism. But in an interesting way, this is actually part and parcel of the whole movement towards robotics. It's not only making individual warfighters comfortable with robots, it's this idea of coupling man and machine and merging humans and machine. And DARPA is doing that with programs now with what they call biohybrids, which people might call cyborgs. You know, they are able to actually control a rat through a labyrinth remotely because they've implanted electrodes in its brain.
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication.
It's taking biology and making it technology, take technology and making it biology. And transhumanism is the merger of the human body with technology. It's obvious to me. I don't know what people, like, the words mean what they mean.
We are at the beginning. When you look at it, at technology transformation, it usually takes place in the terms of an S-curve. And we are just now where we move into the exponential phase. And I agree. Artificial intelligence, but not only artificial intelligence, but also the metaverse, near space technologies, and I could go on and on. Synthetic biology. Our life in 10 years from now will be completely different, very much affected, and who masters those technologies in some way will be the master of the world.
After thousands of years, during which humans were the rulers of the world, authority and power will shift away from humans to computers, and most humans will become economically useless and politically powerless. Already today, we are beginning to see the creation of a new class of humans, the useless class.
It's the end of the world.